In the summer of 1943, high above the ravaged fields of Europe, a German Luftwaffe ace squinted through his gun sight at an American fighter, struggling to gain altitude. The enemy plane looked absurd. It was bloated. It was stubby. It was a repulsive, barrel-shaped monster that seemed to defy the very laws of aerodynamics. The German pilot laughed into his oxygen mask and radioed his squadron with a new joke. "Look at the flying milk bottle. It waddles like a fat duck." He banked his agile Messerschmitt Bf 109 hard, climbing with surgical precision, positioning himself for an easy kill. With the sun at his back, he dove. But just as his finger tightened on the trigger, the milk bottle did something physics should have forbidden. It rolled, tipped its massive nose down, and fell like a tungsten anvil dropped from the heavens. The German ace didn't just lose his target, he lost his nerve. In the span of 10 seconds, he realized that the ugly duckling he had mocked was leaving him behind, plunging toward the earth at speeds that would rip the wings off his own machine. He wasn't chasing a milk bottle. He was staring down the wrath of gravity itself. This was the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt, weighing nearly 8 tons when fully loaded. It was the heaviest single-engine fighter of the Second World War, and it held a secret that would soon turn the skies of Europe into a graveyard for the Third Reich. To understand the fury of the Thunderbolt, you must first strip away the romance of the dogfight. While the Supermarine Spitfire and the North American P-51 Mustang are often remembered as the ballet dancers of the air, the P-47 was a prize fighter. It was built by a Russian immigrant, Alexander Kartveli, who understood one brutal truth. Speed is life, but not the speed of the turn, the speed of the dive. Kartveli didn't want his plane to dance with the nimble German fighters. He wanted to hit them with a hammer and vanish into the void. The airframe was a contradiction in terms. It was enormous. The cockpit was so roomy that pilots joked they could stand up and walk around if the canopy wasn't in the way. But this size was not a flaw. It was armor. The cockpit was bathtub-shaped, lined with thick steel plate protecting the pilot from the back and bottom. The radial Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp engine was a mechanical beast forged from heat and fury. It was the same engine that powered the Hellcat and the Corsair, but in the Thunderbolt, it was force-fed by a massive turbo supercharger. This turbo was a secret weapon. Hidden in the fuselage behind the pilot, it ducted air through nearly 70 feet of intricate plumbing, compressing the atmosphere so the engine could breathe at altitudes where other planes choked and suffocated. On the ground, Luftwaffe intelligence officers studied, captured schematics, and dismissed the design as archaic. They believed the future belonged to sleek, liquid-cooled inline engines. They thought the fat American radial engine was a dinosaur. They were catastrophically wrong. On November 26, 1943, the 56th Fighter Group, known as Zemke's Wolf Pack, flew into the history books. Major Francis Gabreski and his pilots had learned how to weaponize gravity. They climbed to 30,000 feet, scanning the frozen contrails for the black-crossed hunters of the Luftwaffe. When German Focke-Wulfs were spotted below, the Thunderbolts didn't dive in the traditional sense. They slammed the stick forward and gravity took over. A P-47 could hit over 500 miles per hour in a dive, faster than the terminal velocity of a Messerschmitt. German pilots, accustomed to rolling inverted to escape, would look back in horror to find the big American Jug, the Juggernaut, sticking to their tail like a shadow of death. Unshakable, its massive engine roaring, a death rattle across the radio frequencies. But speed was only half the equation. The fury came from the wings. 8 50 caliber M, 2 Browning machine guns. Let the numbers sink in. 8, a standard. Spitfire had 2 cannons and 4 machine guns. A Mustang had 6. The Thunderbolt did not poke holes in planes. It erased them. When a pilot depressed the trigger on the control column, 340 grams of high-velocity metal leaves the barrels every single second. That's over 13 pounds of lead per second. It wasn't a burst of gunfire. It was a solid wall of destruction. Ground troops reported that when a Thunderbolt strafed a tank column, the sheer kinetic force of the bullets could flip armored cars onto their backs without piercing the armor. The sound was a tearing, ripping canvas of hell that left German infantry frozen in paralytic terror. The Juggernaut's most iconic moment wasn't hunting fighters, though they destroyed over 3,700 of them in the air. The true destiny of the P-47 was found just above the treetops. After the D-Day invasion on June 6, 1944, the breakout from Normandy stalled. German panzer divisions, the dreaded Tiger and Panther tanks, were rolling toward the beaches. The Allied ground forces needed close air support that could take a beating and survive. The P-38 Lightning was vulnerable to ground fire. The P-51 Mustang's liquid-cooled radiator could be taken out by a single rifle shot. But the Thunderbolt? It was an airborne dreadnought. Colonel David Schilling, one of the legendary aces of the 56th, explained the strategy simply. Head down, throttle forward. If you see tracers coming up, ignore them. If you see a tree, pull up. Pilots came back to base with cylinders missing from their radial engines, with 2 feet of a propeller blade sheared off by a chimney, with electrical cables hanging out of flak, holes so large the crew chief could put his head through them. And yet, the pilot was alive. The Jug absorbed catastrophic damage and kept flying. The radial engine, unlike the delicate inline engines, didn't need a pressurized coolant system. It could leak gallons of oil, overheat, and still drag its pilot back to English soil. On the ground, the Terror had a very specific face. The Razorback variant, with its sharp spine behind the canopy, gave way to the bubble top, granting pilots a panoramic view of the carnage they were dealing. The Germans called them Jabo, short for Jagdbomber, as the Allies pushed toward the Rhine River. The Thunderbolts turned the German retreat into a highway of burning steel. Operation Market Garden, the Battle of the Bulge, wherever the panzers gathered, the Juggernauts descended. In the frozen Ardennes forest during the brutal winter of 1944, the clouds finally broke on December 23rd. The German offensive had surrounded the 101st, airborne at Bastogne. The weather lifted for the first time in a week. The sound of piston engines echoed off the snow-covered pines, but it wasn't the scream of the high-altitude Mustangs that the Germans heard first. It was the guttural, baritone roar of the Thunderbolts. They came in waves, wings heavy with 5-inch high velocity, aircraft rockets and 500-pound bombs. They flew so low that German tank commanders could see the painted teeth on the nose, art of the planes screaming toward them. The attack was ruthless and mechanical. They destroyed the armored spearhead, paving the way for General Patton's Third Army to break the siege. The Juggernaut had not just fought the German army. It had erased their logistical capacity to wage war. Yet, history plays a cruel trick on this machine. The Mustang was prettier. It flew deeper into Germany, escorting the bombers all the way to Berlin. The headlines loved the Mustang. The public loved the Mustang. The P-47, the unglamorous workhorse, faded into the background of victory. But the numbers tell a story of unparalleled brutality. By the end of the war, Thunderbolts had destroyed 86,000 railway cars, 9,000 locomotives, 68,000 motor vehicles, and 6,000 armored fighting vehicles. It was the single greatest engine of aerial destruction the United States had ever produced. It didn't just win air superiority. It obliterated the enemy's ability to move, to eat, to fight, or to run. Let's return to the summer sky of 1944. A German pilot, perhaps the same one who laughed a year earlier, finds himself alone, low on fuel, and sprinting for a hidden airfield in the French countryside. He looks over his shoulder. The sky is empty, but a thin black smoke trail is rising from a nearby valley. He sees the flying milk bottle descending again, its work done, its silhouette a dark axe blade against the setting sun. The German pilot knows he is not the target today. He is irrelevant, because the Juggernaut isn't hunting planes anymore. It is hunting the entire German nation. One locomotive, one bridge, one tank at a time. The derision is long gone, replaced by a deep, visceral dread. Because the fat, ugly duckling does not need to chase you. It simply destroys the ground beneath your feet and leaves you stranded in the wreckage of your own arrogance. The Republic P-47 Thunderbolt was more than a fighter plane. It was a monument to a different kind of killing logic. It taught the world that elegance wins air shows, but rugged brutality wins wars. It carried the bruises of 1,000 flak hits like badges of honor. When the guns fell silent in 1945, the Thunderbolt didn't need the glory. It had the ashes of an empire caked into its engine cowling. And somewhere, in the quiet halls of aviation history, the roar of the double wasp still echoes, a reminder that the deadliest beast in the jungle is seldom the prettiest one. It is the one built to survive the apocalypse and deliver it at the same time.